Merlin could sense it just as clearly as anyone else. The moment Escanor had landed, he was burning through his life force. However, this latest evolution was tearing through it all at an exponential rate. Merlin could not let this happen. She could stop it. All she had to do was do it. Stop his time, maybe in combination with an endless version of Elizabeth's Invigorate to ensure his longevity. It could fail, but it was better than nothing. It was better than having him die. But then, it would reveal her ruse. If she activated it now, then maybe they would turn against her, possibly spare the Demon King, and she wouldn't get chaos. In a moment, seeing the blood drip from the only man to love her in 3,000 years, worlds split. There was a timeline where Merlin sacrificed her love for her curiosity, embodying the gluttonous nature befitting her name Sin. However, this was not that timeline. "Elizabeth!" she cried, desperate for the woman's attention as she began to cast the altered chrono coffin. "Yes?" Elizabeth asked, hiding behind Meliodas as the battle between the titans shook creation. "On my signal, cast your most powerful healing spell on Escanor. Put your very being into it," Merlin begged, and while Elizabeth gave a determined nod, Meliodas tensed. "Merlin, what are you thinking?" Meliodas said, not liking the idea of possibly sacrificing Elizabeth. "Goddess healing magic is not just a boost to the internal healing within a person. The magic acts as a substitute for their very life, restoring things that should be impossible to on humans. Cuts, gashes, even entire limbs are replaced by its power," Merlin explained the best she could under the tense situation. "Escanor's very life itself is burning away. I need Elizabeth, the strongest healer of the goddess clan, to use her magic to replace his life." "That could kill Elizabeth," Meliodas snapped back. "And Escanor will die if we don't attempt this. I will restore Elizabeth's magic through infinity, and I'll make sure Escanor doesn't burn through her life. Trust me, Meliodas." Meliodas felt the earth tremble at the battle between his father and the Sin of Pride. Droll, Gloxinia, Liz. He could not lose anyone else. "Fine, try it." Merlin finished the spell and thrust her hand out. "Now!" An Invigorate roared forth from Elizabeth, then empowered by Infinity Enhance, and Merlin using power conversion to take control of the spell herself, merging it with the effects of Infinity, pouring it into Escanor directly, and then with a snap of her fingers, the altered chrono coffin, Chronostasis, was cast. In battle, Escanor felt strange all of a sudden. It suddenly felt as if his life, his fuel, was endless, timeless. He readied himself and swung, decimating the Demon King. Escanor wasn't healing, but he knew he wasn't going to die anytime soon now. Elizabeth's magic was restored quickly, and she glanced at Meliodas. Meliodas transformed into assault mode, knowing that even with the hypothetical immortal Escanor in this new empowered state, the battle could drag on, and the longer the battle dragged on, the higher the chance there was of the world being destroyed. He needed to finish this now, and everyone followed his lead. The empowered beings dominated the Demon King, and time for his elders to finish the job on the inside. Now, events fall in line with the other world for a short while, till Meliodas is forced to end the Britannic Demon King. He flickers for a moment into his true full power, and fires off an attack, leading into power conversion. He begins his full counters, and plans to stop, but decides against it. He needs to erase his father completely. Thus, he full countered 10 more times, forcing Merlin to condense the attack even further, allowing it to annihilate the Demon King in his entirety on both planes of existence. Meliodas landed, reverting back to his base state, looking to Escanor, who was grinning. "Well, looks like you aren't going anywhere," Meliodas said with a big grin, and Escanor laughed heartily. "I am not, and from what I can sense, neither are you," Escanor noted, and Meliodas blinked. He closed his eyes and felt around the world. It wasn't destroying itself anymore. Why? It seems the world was only destroying itself because of the existence of 2 Demon King level entities upon it, and since the Demon King never died, it makes sense that the two would react together. It was unnatural and disrupted the balance of creation. Now that there's only one, there seems to be no reaction from the world, Merlin offered, and Meliodas grinned even wider. It only makes sense. Why would the Demon King want to rule a hunk of debris in space? Great! Elizabeth and I can stay here now. Hold on, little wrath, Escanor declared, and Meliodas scoffed. "What's the matter, Big Pride?" Meliodas questioned playfully, and Escanor looked down. "I feel like we have unsettled business. I believe we're 1-for-1 in our official matches." Meliodas understood and began to transform. "So all those beatings after I dominated you the first time don't count as matches, huh?" Meliodas asked, not even bothering to mention that he wasn't in his right mind or power during his supposed loss. "Mere sparring," Escanor declared. "This will be our tiebreaker, to prove which of us is truly the strongest Sin." "So, does that mean no holding back?" Meliodas questioned, peeking at assault mode, dark eyes looking up to his fellow Sin, mirroring an image from a time not so long ago. "What good would it be if I didn't defeat you at your strongest? There would always be doubts," Meliodas grinned and raised his power one last time, the true magic state emanating raw, unbridled strength. "Then let's hear that roar, lion of pride. It better reach the heavens with how boisterous you are," Meliodas declared, readying lost vein. "Then your flames better be strong enough to even singe the apex of creation, Dragon of Wrath." The two tensed and lunged into battle. Before we jump into this battle of the two strongest sins, please do me a favor and leave who you think is going to win in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and here we are. The anointed time is finally upon us. The fated rematch of the strongest has finally come to pass. Within this day, we shall discuss a clash between the apex predators of both the demons and humanity, those who stand unrivaled amongst their legendary and feared group, the 7 deadly sins. Today, we open a discussion on the war between the first son of the Demon King, the Dragon Sin of Wrath, and true King of the Demons, true Magic Meliodas, versus the last son of Castalio, the Lion Sin of Pride, and the pinnacle of humanity, the One Ultimate Escanor. So, the main 3 things we have to cover in terms of this fight are power, speed, and ability. So let's hop right into power. Both True Magic Meliodas and the One Ultimate Escanor are extremely powerful. For True Magic Meliodas, despite having very few appearances and actually never making a debut in a fight, he is confirmed to be stronger than Meliodas' Assault Mode by a wide margin. His best feat is single-handedly annihilating the Commandments and the Demon King at the same time by throwing away his power, rather than actually using it. And the reason this is so impressive is because of the context of that feat. The 7 deadly sins, all of them, combined, using their own respective magic, Goth using Kill Switch, Merlin using Power Conversion, Diane using her strongest attack, King using his strongest attack, Escanor using his strongest attack, Meliodas using his strongest attack in Assault Mode, and Bond using his strongest attack with Choose, all combined, and then multiplied either 16 times by the full counter shown on screen, or an actual 1,024 times by the full counters I counted up just by following the line. They couldn't even destroy the Commandments, not to talk of the entire Demon King. Meanwhile, Meliodas pulls up and just manages to bop them right out of existence, easily, on his own, in his true magic state. And that's a massive difference in power right there, and that's honestly the only feat you really need for True Magic Meliodas to admit that he's a monster in terms of just raw power. And of course, he destroyed the curses, but that's not really much in comparison to what he actually did with his true power when he wasn't even trying to use it properly. Man was essentially taking his bow and arrow, and rather than firing the bow and arrow, he just threw the bow and arrow at you, and it still worked. Like, imagine that. That's basically what Meliodas did with his power, and it's still managed to perform a feat that surpasses all of the 7 deadly sins combined into one. Like, that's just how crazy True Magic Meliodas is in terms of power. However, Escanor is not lacking in the One Ultimate state either. In terms of power, he casually surpasses the full power Prime Demon King, and that is clearly shown when the two are fighting and going even while Escanor is in the 1 state, and then the moment Escanor empowers himself into the true ultimate 1, then the Demon King just gets body bagged. Blitz out of nowhere, just pounded repeatedly. Escanor directly outpowers him, just completely scales him directly above the full power Prime Demon King. And it is honestly crazy to think about, considering that Escanor not even like an arc ago would have been vaporized at the beginning of this fight. So it's crazy to see how much he grew with that transformation, and honestly that's super good scaling in of itself. It puts him above pretty much the rest of the cast outside of certain characters, like, you know, your Chaoses, your Meliodases, stuff like that. So in terms of raw power, Escanor is not lacking far behind either. He's super strong, and of course he was part of the combo attack that helped destroy the Britannic Demon King, which is always super important for any character involved. So, very, very good on Escanor's front. Both are extremely powerful. Now, let's get on to the speed. For speed, things are not necessarily that complicated, because once again, True Magic Meliodas should just be like either 16 or 1,024 times stronger than his Assault Mode self, who is stronger than his Demon Mark self, who was already able to go even with the Prime Demon King while mentally debuffed, because Meliodas was concerned about Zeldris. And then once he's not mentally debuffed anymore, he's even able to catch the Prime Demon King off guard, which is extremely impressive considering that he was only in Demon Mark at the time, and possibly even in base considering we don't even see his face. But then we get to realize that the Meliodas we're talking about is a whole 2 stages above that in terms of raw power. So definitely in terms of just raw speed, Meliodas is one quick boy, like managing to easily easily outspeed any weaker variation of himself, and considering all weaker variations of himself are either relative to or just faster than the Sins, is extremely good for that boy Meliodas to have access to in terms of his true magic self. The raw speed he has is kind of insane and probably makes him one of, if not flat out, top 2 characters in the verse speed-wise, if not top 1. I know, like, Chaos Arthur arguments are, like, strange, considering he doesn't have mastery of the power, and you know, the whole Demon King and Supreme Deity, who are drastically weaker than Meliodas, are able to seal away chaos and stuff like that. Like, there's ways you can argue, but I'm just gonna give Chaos the benefit of the doubt here and say that he probably takes the #1 spot in terms of speed. But even still, the speed that Meliodas would have in his true magic state would be insane. But speaking of insane, Escanor, once again, here's the thing: the Demon King managed to land 1 punch on Escanor after Escanor landed like 50. Like, to be fair, in terms of raw speed, the Demon King could do nothing. And I know you could argue, oh, well, his hand was being held by Escanor. He was being held by Escanor's abs. If the Demon King really could have dodged, he would have been bobbing and weaving, moving and shaking, bobbing and jiving. But no, Escanor just ended up pounding his fist into the Demon King's face repeatedly until he was finally knocked away, only for him to actually properly knock the Demon King away. So in terms of speed, crazy, top tier, just insane. Like, he's probably faster than pretty much every other Sin except for, you know, like Meliodas. And that's the crazy thing to think about in terms of Escanor, considering the fact that, once again, he wasn't necessarily like one of our fastest characters. He was strong. He was never necessarily fast, but in terms of the speed he picked up by entering the One Ultimate state, extremely insane, faster than the full power prime Demon King in Ultra's body, which is a crazy level of speed to be dealing with, but Escanor casually surpasses it. So in terms of speed, the two are wild. However, that's not all we have to talk about. Now we have to get into their abilities. Now, Meliodas is no slouch when it comes to abilities. He's honestly a monster in that area too. So he is a demon, meaning he has the power of darkness. And this means a lot of things. For one, it allows him to heal from wounds nigh instantaneously. He's such a powerful demon that, considering lesser demons, well, not necessarily lesser demons, but high level demons weaker than him are able to instantly heal away certain wounds and stuff like that. Being as powerful as Meliodas would have extremely high level healing. Then, of course, he has the ability to fly by making dark matter wings that he can use to just fly up into the air, do whatever he wants with. Then, on top of that, he has the ability to create weapons, create shields, all that good stuff with his darkness. And then on top of that, he also has access to sealing with his darkness. Like, he's able to seal you away if he really needs to by just coating you in it and then apparently putting a lock on it. He does have a little technique he says while he does it though, but that was only seen to free a person from one of his seals. We don't know what the activation condition is for him to actually seal somebody, but we know he has access to it. Then on top of that, through his darkness, he has access to things like Trillion Dark, which is a bunch of dark spears that he spawns around himself that can be used as a shield or as an offensive tool by shredding through things, by simply tearing through them because of how dense they are. So that's a very good ability that comes with his darkness. And overall, simply his darkness alone is extremely crazy in terms of what it can do. Then he is also still a demon, so he can sense magic from very, very far away. And also, he can rip out your soul, whether by touching you or just speaking a couple words into the air, and bada bing, bada boom, your soul is now in his palm. Then we have his non-demonic things, such as full counter, which is simply the ability to reflect any non-physical attack back with over twice the power. And he can use this on anything that is obviously non-physical, like any magical attack, but it can also be used on magic-infused weapons and such. Then he has counter advantage, which allows him to make an attack disappear as long as he holds his palm out towards it and casts the incantation. However, that wasn't really an incantation, he more so just thrusts his hands out, and whatever attack is there disappears usually. Then he has revenge counter, where he builds up a whole ton of damage and then smacks you with it after you deal all the damage to him. It's a last resort sort of technique that relies on Meliodas being able to take the hits in the first place, but it's still extremely powerful. Then he has the Hellblaze, which is a dark flame of the Demon Clan that manages to stop the regeneration of even immortals such as Bond. This flame is pretty wild as it can be formed by anything. It can also be used as just like an attack from the palm, it can be used as an enchantment to the blade, and you can even blast it from your blade. So overall, a very diverse ability. Then of course you have all the Slayer techniques or the slicing techniques, where Meliodas simply just fuses the Hellblaze with any of his attacks, either releasing the Hellblaze in waves or simply attacking people with it while he's covered in darkness, or something along those lines. Then of course, finally, he has access to Lost Vein, which is his sacred treasure. This not only just flat out amps him, but it gives him the ability of physical clone, which allows Meliodas to multiply himself up to 4 times. Well, he can make 4 clones essentially. However, these clones only share about a split amount of half the power of the original, meaning that they are not as raw powerful. However, they seem to have the same reaction speed as the original, as none of them show any delay and full counters, which is still very, very good for them to have access to. Also, to finish it all off, in his true magic state, he has access to this attack that sort of erases things, it destroys things completely, such as the curses that ended up being destroyed by Meliodas, and then of course you have the Demon King, who was also destroyed completely after being hit by Meliodas' attack. Well, to be fair, he was hit by Meliodas' power being thrown at him. Then for Escanor, he also has a kind of wide set of abilities, but they're all based around one thing, and that is the sun, or at least fire. He's able to produce fire that's able to actually slow down, if not completely negate, the regeneration of beings of darkness such as vampires and demons by simply attacking and continuously burning them whenever they go to heal, or heal any closed wounds or external wounds. Then he has all of his specific abilities such as Cruel Sun, which is a massive orb of fire that he can launch off at somebody and have complete control over. You can also use this just to flat out fly by riding on top of it. Then when Escanor fires off the Cruel Sun at somebody, he can make it explode with Pride Flare, and then he's also able to just launch off with fireballs entirely by using Crazy Prominence, which launches fire attacks in many different directions. On top of that, he has Divine Swords, which just simply allows him to attack with sheer air pressure. He slices the air in front of him so hard that it leaves visible gashes and slices through people whenever he uses it. And of course, he has his Finger Pokes, or aka the Divine Spears, which allows him to just stab through somebody. As long as he's strong enough, he's able to poke right on through you. And then he has lost Rita by the state, so he does not have access to it. That's unfortunate. However, he still does have Final Prominence, which allows him to simply concentrate a massive ball of fire to the tip of his finger and throw it at somebody. It's an extremely powerful attack that fueled the power conversion that destroyed the Britannic Demon King. Super strong. And that's about it for Escanor's abilities. Now, let's get into the battle itself. So, how do I think the battle would go? Well, I think the two would open up. They'd be standing there, looking at each other. They would lunge in, and Meliodas would instantly body Escanor. I'm not kidding. I think a true Magic Meliodas absolutely watches Escanor. I think it may have caught it by how I was describing their power and speed difference. But yeah, I don't really see a way for Escanor to win this one. True Magic Meliodas is such a beast within his own series. Like, even if you went with the lowest, and I mean stated full counter count, 16 times stronger than the entire 7 Deadly Sins cast. Well, no, the cast of the 7 Deadly Sins Night group, of course, minus Gother, who doesn't have much raw physical power as it is. Then I guess Merlin, who didn't fire anything into it. The thing is, even with that removed, simply surpassing, Escanor was part of the attack. Escanor was part of the attack alongside a weaker version of Meliodas. And guess what? They couldn't destroy the commandments when that attack was multiplied either 16 or 1,024 times. But you know what true Magic Meliodas did? Popped it right out of existence. Popped the commandments right out of existence. Apparently popped the Demon King out of existence too. That man's completely destroyed. And he did that while throwing away his power. The analogy I brought up earlier still stands. That's like throwing a bow and arrow at somebody and still managing to kill him. Like, what kind of sense does that even make? And that's the thing. The raw power gap is what truly does Escanor dirty here. Because even in general, say I equalize stats, I still say Meliodas is like the hardest counter to Escanor that one can muster. Because Escanor is very much a power type. Like, as long as you can match Escanor in power, he's not necessarily as scary as he would be. He mainly relies on simply straight overpowering opponents. Not to say that Escanor isn't a skilled fighter, but Meliodas is most definitely more skilled and also has a wider set of abilities that would better help him deal with Escanor. Not only would Meliodas be able to deal with Escanor on the physical front by either simply just fighting with him, using Lost Vein, using the 2 extra hands he has just floating around in his true magic state to go ahead and be on the attack that way, but even on the magical side, with full counter, with counter vanish, all Meliodas has to do is just read some timing. It's not that complicated for Meliodas to do, especially in a close range fight. I essentially see this being a run back of either the first fight Meliodas and Escanor had, or the start of the second fight that Meliodas and Escanor had that we saw in chapter 232. Like, we saw what happened when a truly superior Meliodas just starts bullying Escanor. Just raw, sheer, pop, 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 slapping him up. We've seen it. And that's very likely going to happen again. Because Escanor just has nothing to deal with Meliodas. Because unequalized, Meliodas just washes him. Like, it's not even a contest. And no, I don't think Meliodas would kill him. And that's the thing. I don't think Meliodas would go out there and be like, forget it, I need to warp Escanor from the face of the planet. But I do think Meliodas would be like, well, sorry, buddy, you gots to go, though, and instantly knock him out. Like, is there anything that Escanor could really do here? Like, even the healing negation isn't necessarily necessary because I don't think Escanor has enough power to damage Meliodas in the first place to require the healing. That's it. And say it's even worse if I turn morals off. Like, you'd think that Escanor would like maybe get like a bloodlust amp or something like that, but all Meliodas has to do is tap my man, and suddenly Escanor doesn't have a soul anymore. And to be fair, maybe Meliodas couldn't eat it, but all he needs to do is annihilate the soul. He could literally just hit Escanor with the same attack they hit the curses and the Demon King ones. Just boom, and Escanor's dead. There's nothing I can really do to make it so that Escanor wins. Like, equal stats still gets a hard counter. Isn't that right? I guess you could say an equal stats Escanor gets full countered. But okay, I know. I'll quit my day job. Well, no, I won't quit my day job. I really need it if I'm trying to make jokes like that. But then an unequalized Escanor just gets absolutely mollywopped. Like, legitimately. It doesn't help that Meliodas has more limbs, like 6 to 4. Like, that's crazy. I don't think Escanor can really deal with that. And yeah, that's a sad thing. Like, the Escanor is still confirmed, in my mind at least, to be the second strongest sin. Hands down. But, thing is, that gap between number 1 and number 2 is sizable. It's large. Whether you go with the lower number or the higher number, it's crazy to think about how wide that gap is between the two of them. And it's pretty unfortunate, too, considering how well these two were sort of like built up to be like the respective number ones of their respective group. Like, Meliodas was always implied to be the number 1 strongest, but then he was the one hyping up Escanor. Escanor was hyped up to a long degree. But by the end of the series, Nagabo just went like, yo, what if I just made Meliodas like strong? And like, I'm talking strong. Like 16 to 120 to 1024 times stronger. That's wild to me. But hey, it's what happens. That's the thing. In terms of power, Escanor can do nothing. In terms of speed, Escanor can very likely do nothing. In terms of hacks, Escanor can very likely do nothing. I don't see any of Escanor's stuff working because it's either getting full countered back at his face. To be fair, it wouldn't do much. He's immune to fire himself. So I don't think the Hellblaze would do much against Escanor either. But Meliodas doesn't need the Hellblaze. That's the thing. This isn't like something where Meliodas, oh no, if he doesn't activate the Hellblaze. Meliodas has like 5 other ways to get rid of Escanor. He could either incapacitate him by removing his soul. He could spam him and trying to accidentally not kill him through Trillion Dark. He could literally just box Escanor to death. He could jump Escanor with 5 versions of him. And considering how wide the gap in power is, even if you were to take that feat and split it in half, say the one clone would only be 8 times stronger than 8 times stronger than the full counter combination. Say we're going with the lowest number, like it's only the 16 times based on the 4 full counters stated on screen. We take that and then we split that amongst 4 beings. That means that even those clones that only have an eighth of Meliodas' true power, like they would legitimately still body bag Escanor. Like alone, by the way, because you got to realize power conversion. So you take the clones, which are supposedly half as strong as the original, they share half a power level. So instead of 16 times stronger, you take 8, and then you divide that 8 by 4. So they're at least 2 times stronger than that full counterattack, which failed to destroy the Demon King. Or no, the base version of that full counterattack, which Escanor was a part of. So even a clone could probably solo Escanor, which is wild to say. And I'm talking about a clone with all 4 clones out. I'm talking about drastically weakening Meliodas' clones. That's what I'm talking about. Because the gap in power is just too wide. I don't really see a way for Escanor to win this. This seems bad because like I do like the concept of this fight, but even like the only way I could really see this fight being argued, or at least for Meliodas versus Escanor specifically, is like you may have to limit Meliodas to like assault mode. You may have to say like he threw away his true magic already, bada bing, bada boom. Now he's not allowed to use it anymore. But even then, arguably, considering how well a Demon Mark or possibly a base Meliodas was doing against the Prime Demon King and the Britannic Demon King, once he got that like mental confirmation that Zeldris would be okay, he got like an amp. Because to be fair, that is what happens when you're more sure of yourself in 7 Deadly Sins. You do get an amp and better control of your power. So it wouldn't be shocking to me that if even assault mode Meliodas would like go toe to toe with Escanor. If not, just outpower him once again. But that's only because of how well Demon Mark or base Meliodas does in comparison to Escanor, who does get held back by the Britannic Demon King. But to be fair, a base Meliodas gets held back by the Britannic Demon King as well. And then again, once again, an assault mode Meliodas sort of blitzes in front of Escanor. But that's all the little things, really. Like, I could definitely see Meliodas just taking this one. That's the thing. If y'all can think of a win condition for Escanor, please tell me in the comment section down below. Like, I feel bad saying that Escanor really has no way to win, but unless Meliodas literally stands there and does nothing and suppresses himself to like a 16th of his power or like an 1,024th of his power, I just can't. Not even then, because it's literally Escanor is only a part of that full counterattack. That's wild. So yeah, is there any way y'all see Escanor taking this dub? Because personally, I don't. That's a sad thing. But don't worry, Escanor is going to be getting a redemption very, very soon. But we'll be talking about that in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.